Welcome to this new episode of The Disabled Life. The purpose of this podcast is to tell people how I live my life. The name I'm using on the podcast now is The Disabled Guy, because I felt that you needed to hear something as opposed to just my voice there. I'm a disabled male living in Florida with cerebral palsy. I'm here to tell you how I live my life and some of the volunteer work that I do and how I manage to do it with cerebral palsy. Without further ado, let's go into the episode. What I'm going to talk to you about today is something that I go through on a daily basis, something that I deal with. Okay, let me start by explaining. Those of us that are on fixed incomes that don't work have this issue of wanting and needing things that the regular person needs. What I mean by regular person is even a disabled person that works needs. But we have to budget extremely tightly to do these things. Let me go into a little bit more detail. Both my parents are retired. They're older, so it's even more difficult because there's no. All of us are on a fixed income, so that makes it life. That makes life doubly difficult because we're always having the budget. The three of us put money in for food and other expenses like cleaning supplies, etc. People think that that food stamps will provide for those things. No, they do not. At least in Florida, they do not. I'm only talking about Florida. So it is imperative that we keep our expenses down to the minimum. But it's hard because nowadays, as of today, when I'm recording this, inflation is horrible. It's horribly big, so it's causing a lot of stress, and it's hard, it's even hard for those people that work and everything else. But it's doubly difficult for us disabled people because we have disabled people and retired people. I'm not only going to say disabled because if you are retired, you're dealing with the same thing that we are dealing with as disabled people. It is hard, It is hard, This, to be honest, I don't know how a lot of people do it. I do it, but I'm saying it's hard. It's hard. It is difficult. Hold on, let me adjust this. It is hard to do these things, but we do them. For example, I'll give you an example. Miami-Dade Paratransit, or STS, costs $3.50 a trip. But here comes, it's $7 for a round trip. I can actually do something that most people don't do, but we can do it. At least in Miami-Dade Transit. I don't know Miami-Dade Paratransit. I don't know about other places, but we can bring one what they call a certified aid. It's somebody that's certified by them, and that person doesn't pay. So it's $7 for two of us. But here we go. But I'm going to give you another thing. We can also bring in a second person as a companion because sometimes people go to airports, I believe, etc. And that costs $7. That costs another $3.50. So for the person that's certified, one of the people is certified, that doesn't charge you. But for the second one, you gotta pay. So actually, if you do that, it becomes very expensive because it becomes, instead of $7 a round trip, it'll become 14 a round trip. So, we have to be very frugal, very careful how we spend our money. It took me, I'm going to be honest with you, 3-4 months to save up enough for this computer. And this computer I have here. And I also I have to buy a hard drive to make make something, make a time machine backup. But I have not been able to do that. I will soon, but that's what I'm just going to use those two examples. And another thing that we pay for as a family, and I help too, is we have DirecTV that my sister left us, bless her heart. But yes, but we pay for this thing. We enjoy it, but we pay for this thing. I help with food, as well as my dad and mom. We all pitch in for food. But man, it's getting so expensive out there now. Expensive like crazy. Sometimes it's $400. And and don't forget the unforeseen expenses. We used to have pets. That's another unforeseen. But we no longer have them. Bless his heart. We had to put him down. He was getting sick and dementia or whatever. But that's another thing. I don't have that expense anymore. But a lot of people have service animals, and that's another expense that I don't. That is, but we have to have them. If you need an animal like that, you need to have them. So I'm just telling you how much stress, and people don't realize how much stress it is to deal with all this. Is sit here and deal with all these things that most people don't have to deal with. Oh, and don't forget that sometimes almost forgot this point. There's medicines that sometimes come up that we have to take, and they're not covered by our insurances or Medicare or whatever crap, and we still need them. So we go ahead and we will pay because it is something that we need to do. It's our health is more important than money, which I agree with. And I say that our health is a lot more important than money. It's very difficult to live in this world on a fixed income, but we have to do it, and we do it because that's it. But man, what do we get as disabled people? Sometimes not enough. And so there's something I do, and it's hard also when if you wanna get a job, because then you would end up losing your benefits. For example, I can use my example because I've researched this. With the benefits I get, if I get $1,000 a month, up to $1,000 a month, I'm okay with benefits. But after that, I start losing things, and that's something that's hard to deal with. And well, I don't know, but at least that's my opinion. It's not easy to navigate this world. Imagine people that have cars that are disabled. Imagine the amount of money that it costs them, because they have to have different car insurance and all these other things and modifications, etc., in their vehicles. It is something very, very, very hard, very difficult to deal with. So I wanted to do this so you guys would know some of the stresses that we deal with. And don't forget, we deal with the regular stresses of life, of people getting sick, etc. And then on top of that, we deal with all this little extra stuff that we don't have to deal with, finances, etc. So this is something that I thought about because I wanted to let you know my feelings on a lot of what I talk about is things that I am feeling, and that's how I become. That's how I bring my topics up here, and that's why I decided to do a podcast. because I realized that I wanted people to hear what I'm going through, my life, etc. With that, thank you for listening. In closing, let me say thank you for listening to this episode of The Disabled Life. You can follow me on the following platforms. You can follow me at Good Pods. You can leave comments, messages there. You can also follow me on Twitter at The Disabled Guy. And you can also listen to me on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, and many others. Once again, thank you for listening, and I'll also give you my email. My email is Kilo Echo 4 Kilo Echo Yankee, or KE4KEY@gmail.com. Once again, thank you, and thank you for your support, and I'll see you next week.